You can dispute or object to any actions that Trump takes, but it is simply the case that when a president is carrying out his duties and is speaking to his subordinates in the White House, that is obviously official business. If he were to bring in a bunch of, I don't know, drug dealers and hookers or something, that would probably be an unofficial crime, not related to his duties as president.
In this video, Michael Knowles and Destiny join the panel on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Michael Knowles and Destiny debate the legitimacy of the lawfare used on Donald Trump. With that, let's watch Michael Knowles destroy our favorite cuck, Destiny.
People will vote for a corpse over Donald Trump.
They will, and please let them do it. Let the partisan Democrats do it. I'm now all in on the Democratic rhetoric. The Democratic primary voters have made their decision. They want Joe Biden as their nominee. It would be an assault on the integrity of this country and on our sacred democracy if they replace him now. I can't wait to see him in all 50 states. At this point, obviously, the man is not up to the job. So someone else is running the country, whether that's Jill, whether it's Ron Klain, whether it's, I don't know, whether it's Barack Obama.
Do you know what's really interesting, Michael? This is really interesting to me, this panel, because if we'd gone back, 3 months, you'd have all been shouting at each other, arguing about Trump. The two siding to the Democrat side here on the panel, you've been neutered by what's happened. I can feel that the luster has gone. The enthusiasm to beat up conservatives has just flown out of your bodies. I mean, there's not been one argument. You've all just sat there going, we agree, he sucks. Your own guy sucks. He's barely alive. You've lost your fight, haven't you? Biden has removed the fight from Democrats. That's what I'm seeing here.
Not. Absolutely. Actually, I agree with that.
You agree?
I totally disagree. No, if Donald Trump is taking insane, again, the Supreme Court ruling today is unbelievable. The idea that instead on today's show, we're going to focus on whether or not Biden had a bad debate performance is just reflective of the I don't want to say agenda in a negative way, but of what you want to talk about today on this program. Like, I think that the decisions that are being made right now legislatively in the Supreme Court are more important, or that are being made in the Supreme Court are more important.
You know why that's happening?
Whether or not Biden has a bad.
You know why it's happening? Because Trump was able to put 3 judges on the court in 1 term. You know why that was? Because you put up a terrible candidate, Hillary Clinton. It was incredibly polarizing, very arrogant, very superior, and she got flatlined by Trump when no one saw it coming on the Democrat side. And secondly, some of your Democrat judges who should have known better decided they weren't going to resign. They weren't going to retire. And because of that, Trump was able to pack that court. So I'm afraid you reap what you sow. Just very bad politics by the Democrats.
One of those Supreme Court justices were literally lost by McConnell just robbing a president of the right to seat a judge. Nobody remembers that Garland was supposed to be on the Supreme Court for almost a full year. McConnell said, we're not going to have that hearing. That is indefensible.
Let me bring in Michael here.
Oh my God.
Tommy has to leave in a moment. So Michael, come to you, then come back to Tommy for a final wrap from her. But Michael.
Destiny, the principle that you're articulating that a president should be able to put a judge on the court in an election year, or rather that you say Mitch McConnell violated, was a rule first articulated by Joe Biden in the 90s when he was trying to kill George Bush's judges. So obviously there was a decision today. It said that the president has some immunity for criminal acts or acts committed.
Sometimes going back to these older clips isn't as interesting or informative, but come on. This appears to be on the heels of Biden's disastrous debate, and Piers called it out perfectly. The liberals are real quiet because the fact that they stumped for that guy as long as they did is indefensible. And then they had the audacity to, even after that debate, some of them say, oh, it was just a bad debate, like Destiny did, trying to minimize it. We're talking about Joe Biden having a bad debate. No. We're talking about the leader of the free world not knowing where he is or being able to put together a sentence, which the right has been saying forever, not as an attack. It was just the truth. And knowing what we do now, which we don't even know that much more, it's just been confirmed, but anyone with eyes and ears knew Biden wasn't up for the job. So even when it is a big story like it apparently is here, and that's what they're talking about, Destiny has to act like that's not a story worth spending time on. Give me a break. Let's get back to it.
In his official capacity as president, and this is based on a 40-year precedent. It really goes all the way back to the Marshall Court. Really nothing should be surprising about this. And yes, the Democrats are upset. They're
not inveighing. True. This is
just
based
let me finish 1 second, Destiny. They're inveighing because they say we should be talking about the immunity case. Well, part of the articulation, I just was reading the decision, was says that, look, this is the first time that you've got a president who's being prosecuted in this way. And that's the problem, because the vast majority of Americans, right, left, and center, have been saying in survey after survey that they view the prosecutions of Trump as primarily politically motivated. They view this as kind of corrupt. And that's one of the reasons why Biden's poll numbers have been so bad for so long. And so they throw this Hail Mary to do a debate in June before either party has settled on a nominee. And it completely blew up in their face. And so no wonder people want to talk about it. You've got a political order that is fraying. You got a guy trying to put his opponent into an orange jumpsuit. And it turns out the guy who's trying to do that, it has applesauce for brains. No wonder people are concerned.
What the American people, a bit like the British, I think would be the same in this position. They can smell a political hit job. And the fact that the first case that was used against Trump to try and convict him and put him in prison involved a payoff to a porn star 20 years ago for a supposed one-night stand, or whether it happened or not, that just smelt to them like a massive overreach. Whether he did it or not, they didn't care. As though the idea that the first American president in history to ever be convicted of a crime in a criminal court is convicted over something so pathetic and trivial. The American people, the right-minded, reasonable people who are not in the kind of mad tribal ends of their parties, all went, well, that's ridiculous. And actually demeaning to the country. Destin, I could see you thoroughly agreeing with everything Tommy was saying there.
It's just, Francesca, I think is the name. I agree with her. The thing that Democrats suck on, that we're missing, is this blind allegiance to a leader, literally no matter what he does. It is the engine that powers Republicans. It allows them to lie for their leader. It allows them to excuse horrendous actions by the leader. It allows them to look at a president and, for after decades of saying, oh, we need to limit the power of government. Oh, we need to limit the power, say, well, maybe the president should actually be above most criminal prosecution. Also, as a quick thing, you keep saying that, no, it's just partial immunity for official acts. What is an official act of the president? If you actually listen to the oral arguments that were presented before the Supreme Court, what that act even is, and the ability to even probe for it, is stuff right now that is now presumed to be immune. For instance, just a real quick thing. When Donald Trump is asking Pence, hey, can you throw out the election because I don't like the results, which is a real thing that happened, by the way, as much as Trump's like to say that's not true, that is counted as an official action because these are the roles of the president and vice president, deciding how to count the electoral votes. That is insanity to me. If Biden were to do anything even remotely
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe, would really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
similar, Republicans would lose their minds.
Have you read the decision? I know it just came out this morning, but have you gone through the decision yet?
I read up to page 25, and in part of it, I can read it out to you. He explicitly calls out that whenever the president and vice president discuss their official responsibilities, they engage in official conduct, meaning that presiding over the January 6th certification proceeding, at which members yes, so that did count as official conduct. So if you thought that he was trying to do a coup, try to steal the election by saying, hey, do you think you can throw those votes out? Well, that's beyond prosecution.
You can dispute or object to any actions that Trump takes, but it is simply the case that when a president is carrying out his duties and is speaking to his subordinates in the White House, that is obviously official business. If he were to bring in a bunch of, I don't know, drug dealers and hookers or something, that would probably be an unofficial crime, not related to his duties as president. And the reason that this matters and why it's really a moderate decision is because it goes back about 40 years to.
Destiny said if Joe Biden did anything like Trump asking Pence to throw out the election, which I don't know if that's confirmed to be true or not, but even if it is, he says that if Biden did that, conservatives would freak out. You're probably right, but you want Donald Trump in jail. So Republicans, we freak out all the time. We freak out about nothing happening over the classified documents at Biden's home, like him preemptively pardoning his family members and other criminals, like taking kickbacks from Ukraine when he was VP, like not knowing where he is and no one acknowledging it, like him not actually signing pardons and other official documents. Yeah, we freak out about those things. And I understand you can too, but you're one to put Donald Trump in jail. Are any of the things I just listed about Joe Biden as jail worthy as your example about Trump talking to Pence? I think all of them are much stronger cases, but Joe Biden was never threatened with jail. He was never charged criminally for anything. That's the difference. Maybe let's wrap it up.
To a Nixon versus Fitzgerald, which found out that the president, yes, indeed, has quite a lot of immunity from at least from civil liability. And then the reason that this is such a novel bombshell case is because until Joe Biden tried to throw his rival into the clink, we didn't prosecute presidents, because that's the kind of behavior typical of banana republics and tin pot dictatorships. But the argument, and I'm sure you've read this, even if you've just read the first 25 pages, goes all the way back to the Marshall Court. It goes all the way back to the finding that the presidency does have certain privileges. It's not totally beholden to the other two branches of government. It's got an executive privilege. We have a separation of powers here. It goes back to the Federalist Papers, when the framers of the Constitution said that they need a vigorous presidency, because the problem with the first American Republic, which was the Articles of Confederation, was that you didn't have any strong executive power. So this is not something new. This is a perfectly in keeping with the American legal tradition. And now the Democrats are really...
We want to hear from you. What did you guys think about this debate on Piers Morgan Uncensored between Michael Knowles and Destiny about the lawfare used against Donald Trump? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you in the next one.